You lift your gaze to the night sky, where darkness feels soft and infinite, a gentle backdrop to scattered points of light. Each star glimmers as if sharing a secret only the quietest minds can hear. Some of these lights have traveled for hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years to reach your eyes. In their journey, they carry whispers of distant suns, stories of creation, and quiet hints of worlds that may orbit them, waiting to be discovered. As you watch, your thoughts drift with the photons arriving from these far-off places. Tiny messengers slip through the vast emptiness of space, weaving around clouds of cosmic dust, bending slightly under the gentle tug of gravity. Some pass near massive stars or black holes, warped and stretched. Yet a few arrive here, landing softly in your perception, connecting you to the universe's quiet pulse. The night sky feels like a calm ocean, and each star a gentle ripple on its surface. You imagine planets circling these suns, some rocky and familiar, others massive and gaseous, or icy and distant, cloaked in silence. Each planet might hold oceans, clouds, or mountains, or simply endless stillness. You feel a profound humility as you consider the endless variety of worlds, and yet, at the same time, an intimate connection, an awareness that in some subtle way, all of this vastness shares a rhythm with your own heartbeat. Light reaches you not only with warmth but also with information. The color of each star reveals its composition, its age, its motion, and even the possibility of worlds nearby. In this way, science becomes a gentle form of listening, a quiet dialogue with the cosmos. You begin to understand that understanding does not demand urgency. It is an invitation to linger, to notice, to marvel. The universe communicates softly, and in return, your mind learns to respond with the same gentle attention. Your imagination floats along spiral arms of distant galaxies. Stars cluster and drift, gas swirls and condenses. Galaxies collide in slow, majestic dances. You sense your own Milky Way turning imperceptibly, a quiet spin that has continued for billions of years. Beyond this, countless other galaxies drift in silence, each holding its own stories, its own history, its own possibility. The immensity of it all could overwhelm you, but instead, it evokes a calm wonder, a reminder that smallness and vastness are not opposites but companions in the same story. Sometimes you focus on a single star, imagining its light touching a distant world. Perhaps on that world, someone, human, alien, or something you cannot yet imagine, stares back at the sky, feeling the same curiosity, the same gentle awe. Even across incomprehensible distances, the thought creates an invisible bridge, a quiet companionship woven through the vast emptiness. The void itself seems alive, not with sound, but with potential, waiting for your mind to reach across it. As you breathe, your body begins to slow, your mind syncing with the universe's rhythm. Orbiting planets, spinning stars, drifting galaxies, all move with an unhurried patience, a calmness that seeps into your chest, your mind, your being. Curiosity rises and falls like gentle waves, each question softly echoing through the cosmos. Every what if and how becomes a note in the universe's lullaby, encouraging your mind to rest while still reaching outward. The darkness between the stars is not empty. Nebulae swell with clouds of gas and dust, waiting to ignite new suns. Black holes, invisible and patient, bend space and time, shaping the universe silently. Even in the quiet, unseen forces are at work, guiding the flow of matter and energy, crafting beauty beyond what you can see. In this stillness, you sense that the universe is alive not in noise, but in motion, in rhythm, in patient unfolding. Your eyes close for a moment, and you feel the pulse of the cosmos within yourself. Every star you have seen, every distant glow, is mirrored in your own capacity to wonder. Knowledge, imagination, and quiet reflection flow together, blurring the lines between observer and observed. You rest in the understanding that being small in the vast universe does not diminish your importance. It simply situates you in the grand, gentle choreography of existence. As you drift further into thought, you sense the slow threads of gravity weaving their invisible webs. Stars tug on one another, Planets orbit their suns. Galaxies spin in complex harmonies. Every movement is silent yet eloquent, shaping the structure of the universe in ways both majestic and subtle. This unseen force connects everything, from the tiniest particle to the largest galaxy. And in its quiet work, it reveals patterns that invite reflection, calm, and gentle curiosity. You feel the rhythm of the cosmos echoing in your breath, in your heartbeat, in the slow unfolding of thought. You imagine traveling alongside a photon, drifting across space for millions of years, carrying the memory of its sun, before arriving in your eye, your mind, your awareness. The journey itself becomes a meditation, a way to inhabit both distance and closeness, wonder and calm, imagination and knowledge, all at once. As the night deepens, you sense the continuity between what you see and what remains unseen. Every flicker of light, every dark stretch between stars, every gentle tug of gravity is part of a vast, unhurried symphony. You do not need to name or control it. You only need to feel it, to listen, to rest within it. In this quiet, the universe seems to smile, patient and infinite, offering endless stories without urgency. Your thoughts slow further, folding inward, as you rest within this window to the stars. You are both observer and participant, simultaneously small and immense, quiet and attentive, connected and free. You understand that curiosity does not need to rush. It is a gentle journey, unfolding in rhythm with the cosmos itself. You begin by letting your gaze stretch outward, past familiar skies, past the comforts of your planet, into the vast, quiet space beyond. Stars shimmer like tiny candles on a dark cloth, each flicker a story waiting to be read. Some stories are bold and bright, easily seen. Others hide behind curtains of dust, subtle as a whisper. You realize that finding a planet is a bit like listening to those whispers, paying attention to the softest tones in a symphony that has been playing for eons. Your journey is gentle and deliberate. You imagine the light traveling from distant suns, taking years, decades, or even centuries to reach your eyes. Each photon is a messenger, carrying with it the signature of a world far away. You watch as the light bends ever so slightly, nudged by the gravity of invisible objects, teasing the presence of a planet you cannot yet see. Your mind settles into the rhythm of observation, noticing patterns where once there was only noise. Sometimes, a star wobbles, imperceptibly, like a dancer adjusting to a partner's steps. You feel the quiet drama of motion, a gravitational conversation between the star and something unseen, something that might be a planet. It is a delicate interaction, a cosmic hint. You imagine the orbiting world circling in silence, steadfast and patient, never revealing itself fully, only leaving traces in the star's subtle motions. You realize that the universe rewards patience. The more carefully you watch, the more the hidden becomes apparent, and the more you understand that discovery is not a sudden flash, but a slow unfolding. The hunt continues with another method, subtle and indirect. You notice that light itself carries the secrets of passing worlds. When a planet moves across the face of its star, the brightness dips, almost imperceptibly. You imagine standing on the edge of that distant planet, watching its sun dim and brighten, a rhythm of shadow and light marking its journey across space. Each slight change in brightness is a gentle pulse, a quiet signal that tells you something is there, waiting to be noticed. Your mind becomes attuned to these rhythms, learning to distinguish signal from noise, to separate the extraordinary from the ordinary. There is also the rhythm of color, the shifting hue of starlight as it bends, stretches, and twists through space. You imagine the tiny shifts, invisible to casual sight, but speaking volumes to those who pay attention. Light carries information about temperature, atmosphere, composition, and motion. Each photon has traveled an incredible distance, bringing with it a tiny whisper of a world you cannot yet touch. You feel a sense of reverence for this quiet messenger. Observing is not just looking. It is listening, feeling, and understanding through a patient, careful attention that stretches across time and space. In your imagination, the hunt becomes a meditation, You picture yourself moving alongside these distant worlds, tracing their elliptical paths as they orbit their stars. You feel the gravitational tug, subtle but unyielding, shaping the motion of planets and moons. You sense how invisible forces choreograph the dance of entire systems, how each object responds to the pull of another with precision and elegance. The universe feels alive, not in a loud or chaotic way, but as a delicate, intricate symphony of motion and balance. You begin to understand that observation is a form of participation. Watching closely is, in itself, a kind of gentle engagement with the cosmos. Occasionally, the hunt brings surprises. You find a planet larger than expected or smaller, or in an orbit so unusual that it challenges your assumptions. You notice how the universe is generous in its diversity, offering endless variations on familiar patterns. Each discovery sparks a quiet awe, a soft thrill that pulses through your mind. It is not excitement in the usual sense, not a burst of adrenaline, but a calm, steady joy that grows as your understanding deepens. You appreciate the subtlety of what you are witnessing, the quiet elegance that emerges when you look closely, and the sense that the universe always has more to teach. You also notice that observation is never complete. Each measurement, each discovery, each glimpse of a hidden world raises new questions. You sense the edges of your understanding, the places where knowledge fades into mystery. And yet, rather than feeling frustration, you feel a gentle curiosity, a quiet eagerness to follow the next clue. Every shadow, every wobble, every dip in starlight is an invitation to explore further, to move carefully along a path of discovery that has no end. You imagine yourself walking along this trail, step by step, letting your mind expand with every new hint. The hunt for planets is both solitary and communal. You imagine astronomers across the world, each with their telescopes, their instruments, their careful attention. Some track stars for years, patiently recording subtle changes in brightness. Others watch patterns of motion, collaborating with colleagues across continents. Each contribution adds a new piece to the cosmic puzzle. You feel connected to this quiet network of observers, sharing in the thrill of discovery and the meditation of waiting. The universe, in all its vastness, becomes a shared experience. As your observation continues, you notice something remarkable. The universe teaches patience. You learn to slow down, to wait for the small clues to reveal themselves, to recognize that the greatest insights often arrive softly, almost imperceptibly. You notice how your mind mirrors this rhythm, expanding and contracting in gentle waves of curiosity. You feel the pleasure of understanding grow quietly, a subtle satisfaction that does not demand recognition, but simply exists in the calm awareness of having seen something truly remarkable. Sometimes you imagine stepping even closer to these distant worlds, not in body but in mind. You picture the atmosphere, if it exists, gently circling a planet, shifting with winds and seasons. You imagine the surface, rock, ice, or liquid, reflecting sunlight, creating patterns of shadow and brilliance. You sense the interplay between star and planet, how heat, gravity, and light combine to create a living, moving environment. Each planet becomes a small universe in itself, a place with its own rhythms, its own quiet life that exists beyond your immediate perception. Finally, you recognize the ultimate lesson of this hunt. Attention shapes understanding. The act of observing, of tracing invisible paths, of listening to the gentle signals in starlight, is itself transformative. You feel your own mind expanding, becoming more patient, more attuned to subtlety, more capable of noticing the small, beautiful patterns that shape reality. You realize that exploration is not only about discovering distant planets. It is about discovering the way you perceive, the way you attend, the way you inhabit your own consciousness. And as you drift gently through this imagined cosmos, following each orbit, each subtle flicker of light, each whisper of hidden worlds, you feel a quiet anticipation. The hunt is never truly finished. There is always another planet to discover, another rhythm to follow, another gentle conversation to be had with the universe. And in that anticipation, you rest, knowing that the joy of discovery is inseparable from the calm, meditative attention you bring to it, a steady heartbeat echoing across the silent vastness of space. You close your eyes and let your thoughts drift beyond the familiar sky. Above, beyond the stretch of Earth's atmosphere, the stars pulse quietly, each a distant sun holding secret companions. Some are restless, molten worlds, glowing beneath turbulent clouds of gas and fire. Lava rivers ripple across jagged landscapes, glowing softly, moving with a patience measured in centuries rather than seconds. You feel the warmth of these surfaces in your imagination, a subtle hum that brushes the edges of your consciousness. Above the molten plains, the skies churn with storms unlike anything on Earth. Lightning arcs silently across thick, colorful clouds, tracing invisible currents and creating patterns that shift constantly. Volcanoes sculpt the terrain, reshaping mountains and valleys in slow, deliberate rhythm. In this heat and motion, you sense life not as you know it, but as a concept, potential tucked inside minerals, chemical reactions humming quietly in pockets of molten stone. The planet seems alive, breathing through fire and stone, reminding you that creation can be violent, yet beautiful. Then, your mind moves to worlds frozen and still. Ice sheets stretch for thousands of miles, glittering under the faint light of a distant sun. You imagine sliding over their surfaces, feeling the crisp silence of a frozen desert that has existed unchanged for eons. Water, trapped beneath thick layers of ice, waits patiently, preserving the possibility of life in hidden oceans. Even in the silence, subtle movements hint at activity. Microscopic life, chemical reactions, a slow, invisible dance that persists without hurry. These icy realms teach patience, resilience, and the quiet beauty of stillness. You drift toward planets with exotic chemistry. Methane oceans ripple under green or amber skies. Clouds of shimmering gases shift in patterns that defy your expectations. You feel the strange, alien textures of the air, the density of gravity different from Earth's familiar pull. You know scientists have detected such worlds using careful measurements of starlight, small dimmings as planets pass in front of stars, subtle wobbles in stellar motion revealing unseen companions. The universe communicates in whispers of light and movement, and your mind listens, learning the language of distant worlds. Some exoplanets are extraordinary in ways that stretch imagination. You picture skies painted in lavender and orange, swirling endlessly, carrying storms faster than the speed of sound. Surface pressures crush silently, winds carve valleys, and yet you float above, calm and observant. Words like super-Earth and hot Jupiter are just labels. The reality is far more intricate. Each planet has its own rhythm, personality, and history, and you sense it without needing to categorize. You simply exist in their presence, allowing wonder to fill your mind gently. Time seems to bend as you explore the differences in light and gravity. The warmth of a nearby sun caresses your thoughts, while distant stars chill the edges of your imagination. Each world exists in delicate balance, its orbit dictated by gravity, its atmosphere sculpted by wind and chemical reactions, its surface shaped by eons of unseen forces. You sense the rhythm of the cosmos, the quiet pulse that sustains worlds in motion and teaches you the patience of observation. You float through this rhythm, softening your thoughts to match the slow heartbeat of distant planets. Your curiosity wanders to details, textures, and contrasts. One desert sparkles with crystals that catch light from twin suns, while another stretches endlessly under clouds that glow faintly in ultraviolet light. You imagine moons orbiting silently, casting long shadows, tracing slow paths across surfaces with a delicate touch. Each observation teaches your mind to hold opposites. Heat and cold, turbulence and stillness, familiarity and the utterly alien. You drift among them without urgency, allowing your imagination to expand without limit. Some planets harbor hidden potential for life. Perhaps deep beneath ice or within chemical oceans, small, resilient forms exist, adapted to extremes unimaginable on Earth. You feel a quiet respect for the possibility, a humility that comes from contemplating life's diversity across space. You sense the patient work of scientists, who detect these signals from light years away, translating tiny shifts in starlight into knowledge about planetary composition, atmosphere, and orbit. Every measurement is a gentle bridge connecting mind and universe. Your attention softens as you sense families of planets orbiting their stars. Each planet's motion affects its neighbors, tugging gently, shaping orbits in a cosmic dance that lasts billions of years. You feel the elegance of this motion as if your own awareness moves in rhythm with the universe. Distances shrink in your mind, light years folding into a gentle continuum where you can explore freely, witnessing the interplay of gravity, rotation, and time. Each orbit is a story, each revolution a verse in a quiet poem written in celestial mechanics. You notice the sensory richness of this mental journey. The roar of volcanic eruptions, the hush of frozen plains, the whisper of winds in methane skies, all blend into a rhythm that mirrors your breath. Gravity, light, and chemistry converge to create worlds of breathtaking complexity. You feel the significance of detail, a tilt of an axis, a faint chemical signature, a subtle wobble in starlight. These small observations hint at vast possibilities, teaching your mind to attend gently, carefully, with quiet joy. Softly, you turn inward, your heartbeat, your breath, the slow processing of your own mind, merge with the rhythms of distant planets. You feel expansion not just outward but inward, your imagination stretching to accommodate the strange and beautiful. Each exoplanet leaves an imprint. Molten heat, icy calm, swirling storms, and quiet chemical oceans. They teach your mind the value of difference, the elegance of complexity, and the gentle patience required to notice subtle change. You linger over the patterns, families of worlds orbiting stars in delicate balance. You sense the flow of time, the subtle forces shaping planets and moons, the ceaseless push and pull that maintains cosmic harmony. Even violent eruptions, crushing pressures, and chemical storms are part of the rhythm, and you appreciate the order hidden in apparent chaos. Your thoughts move freely among these realms, softening into contemplation. And as you begin to drift from one planet to the next, you feel the quiet question arise. How do these worlds come to be? What forces forge molten rivers, ice sheets, and exotic skies? How does a star sculpt its companions? And what unseen processes continue to shape them silently across eons? You sense that the story of planetary formation is the next chapter in this gentle journey. A story that asks you to listen, to imagine, and to notice the hidden mechanics of worlds. You drift above a quiet starfield, your gaze stretching across countless lights. Each star holds secrets of worlds unseen, each a gentle anchor in the vast darkness. And around some of these stars you notice subtle motion, a rhythm almost imperceptible yet steady, persistent. Planets glide along their orbits, tracing invisible loops that are as old as the stars themselves. You feel the gentle tug of gravity, that silent force pulling, guiding, and shaping everything in its reach. It is patient, methodical, and constant, a universal heartbeat that keeps the cosmos in motion. As you watch, you begin to sense patterns emerging. Some planets circle close to their stars, spinning swiftly in short, precise journeys. Others drift farther out, moving lazily, their orbits wide and patient. The difference in their paths creates a slow, natural harmony, an intricate choreography that has been ongoing for billions of years. Each orbit is unique, yet it exists in dialogue with the others. The planets do not collide. They do not falter. They follow rules written in the very fabric of space and time. Gravity, invisible yet unyielding, is the conductor of this immense symphony. You feel it as a subtle pull, a gentle insistence on movement and order. It reaches across vast distances, connecting objects through a bond that never weakens. You imagine it like threads stretching from one star to another, delicate yet impossibly strong, weaving the motions of planets, moons, and even the smallest specks of cosmic dust into a seamless tapestry. Nothing is random here, yet nothing feels forced. The universe moves because it is compelled by invisible laws, and yet it moves gracefully, as though each body knows exactly where to go. You notice resonances forming among these celestial dancers. Some planets seem to pace themselves in synchrony, their orbits locked in subtle ratios. A world may circle its star twice for every 3 rotations of its neighbor, and in this ratio you feel an elegant balance. These resonances are quiet conversations, invisible yet audible if you listen closely. They stabilize orbits, preventing chaos, creating a structure that is both simple and profoundly intricate. You sense the invisible dialogue of gravity, where every pull, every tug, is part of a greater conversation. Time seems to slow as you observe. You watch a small moon tracing its elliptical path around a distant planet. The motion is smooth, hypnotic. It speeds up near the closest approach, then drifts gently away, only to be drawn back again. The rhythm of this small orbit mirrors the grander motion of the planetary system, nested patterns within patterns, like circles within circles. You feel a quiet awe at the perfection of this cosmic dance, where every object follows a path dictated by the delicate balance of force and momentum. There is no hurry here. The planets do not rush. They do not stumble. You notice how some worlds share the same orbit, carefully spaced, coexisting without interference. Others follow inclined paths, crossing planes in a way that feels both precise and natural. You begin to perceive a subtle artistry in these trajectories, a cosmic geometry that balances attraction and speed, order and freedom. You realize that chaos is never entirely absent, yet it is constrained, flowing into the rhythms that gravity sets. Light from these worlds reaches you in thin, quiet beams. You follow one planet's motion for a long while, noticing how it bends the star's light subtly, creating a shimmer, a soft trace in the void. You imagine a distant observer watching Earth or another planet, seeing only the dance, the elegant curvature of motion. Each tug, each gravitational nudge, writes itself into these paths, leaving a trace for those who can see with patience and attention. You feel connected to this universal movement, a witness to the precision of forces too vast and slow to perceive in a single lifetime. Sometimes you notice that the dance is not entirely solitary. Planets exert subtle influences on one another, a gentle push or pull that shapes long-term motion. Over eons, these nudges alter paths, creating resonances, shifting inclinations, even ejecting bodies from their orbits entirely. Yet this process is slow and deliberate, never chaotic in the sense of disorder. You sense the patient intelligence of nature, a kind of wisdom embedded in the laws themselves, guiding every object toward balance, stability, and grace. You feel a quiet intimacy with the universe. Watching this slow, deliberate motion, you recognize that every orbit is a conversation between mass and gravity, between speed and distance. There is elegance in restraint, beauty in predictability, serenity in repetition. You realize that, in a way, these movements mirror the rhythms of your own life, the gentle pulses, the repeated cycles, the patterns that emerge naturally over time. There is comfort here, in knowing that even across the vast emptiness of space, order and rhythm persist. As you continue to observe, you notice small variations that make each orbit unique. Some planets wobble slightly, tipped on their axes, creating seasons and subtle shifts in their trajectory. Others follow nearly perfect ellipses, smooth and unchanging. Yet every orbit, regardless of shape, contributes to the grand choreography. You feel the subtle poetry in this balance. Individuality within conformity, freedom within constraint, variation within stability. The cosmos is neither chaotic nor static. It is a living pattern, unfolding quietly across eons. Eventually, your gaze drifts outward, tracing not just single systems but the interconnectedness of many. Stars themselves move slowly within galaxies, carrying their planetary companions along in a grander orbit around the galactic center. You perceive layers of movement, nested cycles of motion, spirals within spirals. Each system dances to its own rhythm, yet is bound to the larger pattern, creating a harmony that resonates on scales almost impossible to comprehend. The universe moves as one vast, interconnected entity, yet every part retains its own individuality, its own quiet voice. You feel the calm precision of motion settling into you, a rhythm that mirrors the slow rise and fall of your own breath. There is no need to hurry. You recognize the order within apparent chaos, the invisible structure that allows stars, planets, and moons to coexist in harmony. And as you watch a distant planet complete another silent circuit around its star, you sense the gentle reassurance that comes from observing a system so steady, so enduring. The universe moves not because it must, but because it follows the gentle logic of its own laws. Every orbit, every tug of gravity, every resonance is a soft story whispered across space and time. You understand, in a quiet way, that this dance is eternal, a rhythm that has persisted long before you arrived and will continue long after you leave. And yet, because it unfolds slowly, because it is patient and persistent, it feels intimate, almost personal, like a secret shared only with those who watch carefully enough to notice. The planets continue their silent ballet, tracing curves that have existed for millennia, and you drift with them, carried gently by the motion of the cosmos. There is no end, no beginning, only the quiet unfolding of paths, the subtle pushes and pulls, the endless dialogue between mass and gravity. And in this calm, measured rhythm, you feel a deep sense of connection, a recognition that you, too, are part of the universe's grand, patient dance. As the cosmic ballet stretches endlessly outward, you sense that every orbit is also a story, a narrative of balance, resilience, and enduring motion. Whispers of a deeper understanding that will continue to unfold as you drift further into the mysteries of space, where new patterns await your quiet attention. You stand at the edge of a world you have never touched, yet its presence is palpable. Air clings like a soft veil, a delicate shroud that bends sunlight into gentle hues you cannot name. Each layer is a quiet story of pressure and temperature, of gases mingling and moving in rhythms invisible to the eye. You sense the whisper of winds long before they arrive, currents that have traveled from unseen horizons, shaping clouds and landscapes in subtle, patient motion. Light scatters differently here. It glints through mist, refracts along invisible gradients, and illuminates shapes that seem to float between the real and the imagined. You notice how the atmosphere filters starlight and heat, how it shields the planet from the cold void beyond. Each breath of thought carries the knowledge that what seems empty is filled with gentle motion, a living, breathing tapestry that touches every inch of the world beneath it. Clouds gather slowly, forming patterns that shift like living brushstrokes. You follow their paths, imagining the tiny droplets that compose them, merging, rising, falling, and fading. Some clouds drift lazily, stretching across vast distances, while others condense rapidly, gathering energy that will later unfurl as sudden storms. You sense the intimate choreography of water, gas, and temperature, each element a participant in the unseen ballet that shapes weather and climate. The winds are invisible architects. They carve mountains, sculpt dunes, and sweep across oceans, carrying whispers of distant places. Even the gentlest breeze holds memory. The echoes of temperature differences, the pull of rotation, the tug of gravity. You imagine tracing each gust, feeling it brush across imagined skin, understanding that movement in the atmosphere is both subtle and powerful. Through science, you begin to touch this unseen force, mapping it in thought and feeling. Temperature shifts across the world like a soft melody. Some regions exhale warmth, others embrace cold. These variations are not random but precise responses to sunlight, rotation, and planetary composition. You imagine standing in zones where heat and chill meet, sensing the gentle friction between them. This is the pulse of the planet itself, an ebb and flow that maintains equilibrium and hints at the potential for life. The atmosphere, fragile yet resilient, keeps everything in delicate balance. Clouds carry more than water. They are vessels of possibility. Depending on the chemical makeup of the world, these clouds may hold exotic liquids or gases, shapes of vapor that form patterns we can only begin to imagine. They drift, swirl, and sometimes vanish without warning, leaving trails of light and shadow in their wake. You watch their movement as if reading a quiet poem, each formation a sentence, each drop a word, and each storm a stanza in the ongoing story of the planet. High above, Charged particles hum through the ionosphere, invisible arcs connecting sky and space. You feel their presence as a gentle vibration, an energy that shields the planet, guides electrical flows, and paints unseen auroras in soft arcs. Magnetism is subtle but persistent, a pulse that protects life and shapes patterns in air and water alike. In this quiet awareness, you recognize the unity of forces, how electricity, gravity, chemistry, and motion intertwine in a delicate web. As night approaches, the sky darkens gradually, swallowing light like a soft curtain. Stars appear, filtered through layers of mist, their brilliance diffused into gentle glimmers. You see how each atmosphere uniquely colors the heavens, softening suns, bending light, and shaping the perception of distance and depth. Every world tells its own story through the interplay of gases and light, a unique fingerprint of cosmic weather and planetary personality. Air is never still. Microcurrents swirl, pressure gradients shift, and chemical reactions unfold quietly. These imperceptible motions sustain life and form the backdrop for the drama of clouds and storms. You sense the intimacy of this constant activity, the ceaseless dialogue between molecules, photons, and energy. Even in silence, the atmosphere speaks of motion, balance, and change, and you listen with reverent attention. Imagine standing on a high ridge, clouds curling around you, wind brushing your imagined skin. You feel the power and fragility of the sky, the weight of the air above and around you, and the gentle touch of pressure as it shifts. Storms form in the distance, not as threats but as the expression of planetary energy, reminders of the intricate processes that sustain balance. Lightning flashes briefly, illuminating invisible structures of vapor and current, while thunder rolls softly, a muted heartbeat of energy. The planet exhales its warmth and cold in rhythmic cycles. Seasons may shift, oceans rise and fall, and clouds form and vanish in quiet succession. You imagine these motions unfolding over millennia, carving canyons, shaping mountains, and nurturing or challenging potential life. The subtle interactions of gases, heat, and light are poetry written in motion, a science expressed in gentle, observable patterns. You sense the uniqueness of each atmosphere across the universe. Some are dense, opaque, and heavy, holding storms of incredible force. Others are thin, transparent, and almost ethereal, barely clinging to the surface. Each one tells a story of its planet's rotation, solar proximity, and composition. Even worlds that seem barren have atmospheres, however faint, reminding you that no planet exists in isolation. Every sphere interacts with light, energy, and the space around it. Every breeze, every thermal shift, every cloud formation is an invitation to wonder. You imagine tracing each movement, following its path across continents, over oceans, and into the depths of space. The air teaches patience, the clouds teach observation, and the storms teach respect. Through this quiet study, you feel connected to distant worlds, recognizing patterns and laws that govern them while preserving the mystery that makes each unique. You linger on the horizon, feeling the planet's breath as it shifts from day to night. Stars glitter faintly, filtered by the veil of air and mist. The wind carries the memory of the sun, the warmth of distant lands, and the possibility of future storms. You realize that to understand an atmosphere is to touch the planet's heart, to feel its moods, its rhythms, and its subtle gestures. And as the night deepens, clouds thin and currents calm, you feel the intimacy of this alien sky. It has shared its textures, its motions, and its quiet power without revealing all its secrets. You sense that the exploration of atmosphere is endless, a perpetual study of motion, energy, and life's potential. In this quiet space, you rest in gentle curiosity, knowing that every cloud, every breath of wind, and every shift in temperature carries a story yet to be fully told. You begin by noticing the subtlest of signals, faint patterns in the light that has traveled for years to reach your eyes. Molecules in a distant atmosphere bend the starlight ever so slightly. Oxygen paired with methane, a trace of water, hints of organic compounds. Alone, each seems mundane. Together, They murmur the possibility of life. You lean in, not with expectation, but with gentle curiosity, listening to the universe as it whispers through these small clues. Your mind drifts across imagined worlds. Perhaps oceans of liquid water glisten beneath skies tinted by unfamiliar gases. Clouds drift slowly, their shapes unfamiliar yet strangely familiar. You envision microorganisms clinging to rocks in hidden pools, tiny life forms drifting in alien currents, performing chemical dances you cannot yet fully grasp. Each possibility is a soft stroke of wonder, a meditation on what could exist beyond the edge of known science. Some signals puzzle you. Interference from starlight, background noise in your instruments, molecules forming without any hint of life. Yet these moments are not frustrations. They are lessons in patience and clarity, reminders that understanding requires both attention and humility. You notice how even the act of observing teaches you about the balance between curiosity and rigor, between imagination and evidence. You allow these moments to flow over you, like waves that wash the shore quietly, shaping the contours of thought without demanding answers. You imagine the forms life might take. Perhaps creatures float in methane lakes, their bodies luminescent against the darkness. Perhaps radiation is not a danger but a source of energy, fueling unseen metabolisms. Your thoughts stretch to encompass the unimaginable, yet you anchor them gently in what science allows, letting speculation drift lightly on the currents of evidence. Even if life is absent, you feel a quiet intimacy with the universe, a recognition of how chemistry and energy intertwine to create potential. Observing these worlds feels like a conversation. The light, the molecules, the atmospheric patterns, each offers a subtle response, shaping your thoughts with quiet suggestion. You notice how small gestures in the data hint at vast possibilities, how tiny spectral shifts can evoke immense imaginative landscapes. Your mind relaxes, learning to inhabit the space between certainty and wonder, appreciating that the journey itself, not only discovery, holds value. You also sense a gentle connection with your own existence. As you imagine life in other forms, you reflect on the resilience and creativity of life on Earth. Microbes thriving in extreme heat, organisms living without sunlight, creatures navigating darkness. Each example strengthens your sense of wonder. The universe becomes a mirror, showing you that even in the most alien places, life, if it exists, may find a way. Your perspective widens, softening, as you allow the possibility of other lives to coexist with your own, without judgment, without expectation. The night deepens around you, though it is not dark in fear but in calm reflection. Stars shimmer with patience, planets rotate in silence, and every photon carries a story. You feel the tender rhythm of the cosmos, a slow pulse that guides your attention. Each observation, each imagined life form, becomes a note in a lullaby of discovery, gentle enough to ease your mind while engaging your curiosity. Even in uncertainty, there is comfort. The absence of clear answers does not diminish wonder. It deepens it, allowing your imagination to wander softly along the edges of possibility. You sense life not only as biology but as potential, as energy, as a subtle dance between matter and circumstance. This awareness expands your empathy, your imagination, your connection to the universe, and to your own quiet place within it. Your thoughts begin to drift toward the broader rhythms that shape these worlds. The invisible hands of gravity, the slow motion of orbits, the atmospheric veils that wrap planets in mystery. Signs of life are subtle, but so are the motions that keep planets spinning, clouds drifting, and worlds evolving. You notice the threads that connect chemistry, biology, and motion, and a soft question arises in your mind. How might life shape a world, just as a world shapes life? You begin by looking outward, toward the pinpricks of light scattered across the darkness. Each star is a whisper of possibility, a silent witness to events unfolding far beyond your reach. You realize that seeing is never simple. Light travels across vast expanses, carrying messages encoded in its faint glow. It is patience and attention that allow you to translate those messages, to gently coax the universe into sharing its secrets. Your first companion is the telescope. You feel its quiet weight, a conduit between your senses and the distant. It does not rush you. It gathers light slowly, layer by layer, building images from the faintest signals. Through it, you trace the subtle flicker of a star, the tiny dimming that signals a planet passing in front. This is the method of transits, a quiet rhythm of shadow and light. You imagine a planet crossing its sun, unseen by any eyes, yet leaving an unmistakable fingerprint on the starlight. Each pulse is a delicate confirmation, a small step into a larger understanding. Spectra are the next whispers you follow. When starlight spreads into a rainbow of color, it tells stories hidden to the naked eye. You lean closer, noticing the absorption lines, the gaps where atoms have captured specific wavelengths. These patterns speak of composition, temperature, motion. You realize that even across light years, you can read a star's mood, its makeup, its motion through the galaxy. Spectroscopy is patience embodied. It asks you to listen carefully, to interpret subtle differences as a poet interprets silence between verses. In these lines, you detect hints of elements, traces of worlds unseen, and sometimes, the faint signs of atmospheres clinging to alien planets. Light curves become another rhythm to follow. They are gentle graphs, soft undulations on a page, representing brightness over time. You trace the peaks and valleys with your eyes and your mind. Each rise and dip is a story. Perhaps a star spot's slow drift, perhaps the subtle tug of a hidden companion, or the fleeting shadow of a planet. You feel a kinship with those who first noticed these patterns, those who devoted hours to recording subtle variations, who learned to trust the tiny signals that others might dismiss. Through the curves, the universe reveals movement, change, and interaction. It is as if you are listening to a slow heartbeat, steady and reassuring, hinting at unseen life forms of motion and gravity. Detection is not just about tools. It is about intuition, patience, and trust in the subtle. You sense the care it takes to distinguish a real signal from noise, a distant reality from the illusions of equipment or atmosphere. The process is slow, like feeling the contours of a hidden object with your hands in the dark. Each observation adds to a tapestry that will take years, sometimes decades, to complete. Yet the reward is profound. Glimpses of worlds that exist beyond imagination, confirmations that our knowledge, though small, is steadily growing. You feel the ingenuity of generations flowing through you. Astronomers of the past discovered planets by the wobble of stars, long before they could see them directly. Instruments designed with intricate precision detect vibrations, shifts, and changes imperceptible to human senses alone. You realize that discovery is as much about the refinement of perception as it is about the objects themselves. The universe is patient. It waits as you learn to listen, to measure, and to interpret. And in that waiting, you discover something of yourself, a capacity for wonder, curiosity, and quiet persistence. Consider the transit method once more. You visualize a planet passing in front of its sun, the starlight dipping ever so slightly. It is nearly imperceptible, yet the tools you wield capture it faithfully. You measure the depth of the dip, the duration, the periodicity, and from that you infer size, orbit, and sometimes even hints of atmosphere. You feel a gentle thrill, a quiet intimacy with the cosmos. It is as if the universe has leaned close and whispered, "Here I am, if you are willing to notice." Radial velocity is another conversation you engage in. You detect the tug of an unseen planet on its star, noticing the Doppler shift of spectral lines. The star moves subtly toward and away from you, and you measure it with astonishing precision. You are aware that you are reading motions caused by objects too distant, too small to see directly. Yet through calculation and careful observation, you translate these shifts into presence and mass. Each measurement is a meditation, a deliberate exercise in attention and patience. You understand that each method complements the others. One hints at size, another at motion, another at composition. Individually, they offer fragments. Together, they form a richer portrait. You notice the synergy of detection techniques, how they interlace to reveal worlds that would otherwise remain hidden. The process is deliberate, rhythmic, and profoundly satisfying, like assembling a mosaic, each tile carefully placed until a faint image emerges from the void. There is a humility in this work, a recognition of scale and subtlety. The planets you detect orbit stars far beyond your own, their light traveling years to reach you. The precision required to sense them, the ingenuity of tools and techniques, and the patience to interpret the faintest signals, all remind you of your place in the universe. You are both observer and participant, a quiet mind reaching across space and time to connect with objects unseen, a testament to human curiosity and the gentle persistence of inquiry. As you continue your meditative journey through detection, you notice patterns emerging. You see how repetition strengthens confidence, how careful analysis turns noise into knowledge. Each discovery builds upon the last, each method enriching the next. You feel yourself slowing, matching your breath to the rhythm of observation, letting your mind float among the subtle pulses of light and motion. It is a soft communion, a dialogue with the cosmos that asks only attention, patience, and imagination. And as you linger on this calm edge of understanding, you begin to sense the next layer. Not just discovering planets, but imagining the lives of their atmospheres, the winds, clouds, and veils that might surround them. You realize that detection is only the beginning of connection, the first step in a broader meditation on the nature of other worlds. Your curiosity stretches gently forward, anticipating the textures and colors of skies you have yet to see. The first world you visit burns with relentless heat. Its star hangs close, a blinding eye that pours golden rivers across its surface. The ground beneath your feet, if you could stand there, would shimmer like molten glass, twisting and folding in ways you can barely comprehend. Winds howl, not as gentle whispers, but as angry, hot gusts that carve patterns into stone faster than you can follow. The sky glows with the light of the sun, scattering into brilliant sheets that pulse and dance across the horizon. You feel the intensity of energy here, raw and overwhelming, a reminder of the sheer force that stars can impose on worlds that dare to dwell too near. In this heat, life would need to be unlike anything you know, adapted to endure, to thrive in what seems to you unbearable. And yet, the planet exists, steadfast in its extreme, holding a quiet beauty in its fury. Far away, another world drifts in frozen darkness, a stark contrast to the first. Here, the sun is a distant whisper, barely illuminating jagged peaks of ice and valleys of shadow. You imagine the silence, a quiet so complete it almost has weight, pressing gently against your ears. Snow-like crystals cover the land in geometrical precision, reflecting what little light exists. Storms may rage here too, not of fire and wind, but of ice and shadow, shaping the surface in ways both violent and beautiful. You feel the patience of such a world, enduring its slow dance around a distant sun, its crust frozen yet alive with potential for strange and hidden forms of matter. It is a world of contemplation, teaching you the calm persistence that comes with time stretched across eons. Between these extremes, you notice the variety that the universe allows. Some planets oscillate between heat and cold, their orbits long, eccentric, unpredictable. Imagine a world that swings from roasting day to frozen night, its surface cracking and steaming, oceans forming and freezing in rhythm with the orbit. You sense the resilience required to exist in such shifting conditions. You think of the possibility that life, if it exists here, would not only survive but adapt, becoming a testament to creativity born of challenge. These extremes stretch your mind, teaching you to hold contradiction and wonder simultaneously. Atmospheres themselves tell stories of survival. Some worlds are cloaked in dense clouds of sulfur or carbon dioxide, their skies opaque, hiding whatever surface exists beneath. Others are thin and almost absent, leaving a naked landscape exposed to relentless solar radiation. You feel the power of air, or its absence, shaping the possibility of what can exist. High winds spiral in perpetual storms, carrying particles and energy across the planet's face. Even without life, there is motion and persistence, and a quiet poetry in how energy flows through these distant places. You understand that extremes are not just conditions, They are stories, lessons written in temperature, pressure, and light. You imagine wandering through a canyon of glass formed by lava flows, watching winds sculpt ice towers taller than mountains, feeling the weight of radiation like an invisible touch, and smelling the faint chemical tangs of alien skies. Your mind floats across these extremes with ease, observing without needing to intervene, learning without needing to act. There is a rhythm here, one that beats differently than on Earth, a rhythm shaped by distance from suns, orbital eccentricities, and the raw physics of matter responding to force and energy. You sense the same rules at work, yet expressed in wild, unfamiliar ways. Even extreme worlds are not static. Volcanoes erupt with sudden fury, oceans rise and vanish as ice melts and refreezes. Magnetic fields twist and coil, radiation belts flare, and the spin of the planet itself can fluctuate, tilting seasons into chaos. Each event reminds you that even the most violent extremes carry patterns, and patterns can be understood. You feel your mind stretching, learning to accept extremes as natural, even beautiful. You recognize that comfort and chaos are both part of existence, and resilience is the thread that binds them. The more you observe, the more your awe grows. You feel your own limitations in contrast to the extremes you explore, yet this feeling is not despairing. It is expansive, a gentle reminder of the vastness of possibility. You sense that Earth, with its moderate temperatures and familiar rhythms, is only one note in a grand symphony of worlds, and each extreme plays a part in a universal harmony. Even in the harshest heat or the deepest cold, there is a kind of life, physical, chemical, and potential, that persists, adapts, and sometimes surprises. As you drift in thought across these extremes, you begin to notice subtle signs of what makes a world habitable. Liquid water, protective atmospheres, magnetic shields, stable orbits, all rare in these extreme realms, yet each a treasure where it occurs. You feel grateful for the balance on Earth, but also inspired by the possibilities elsewhere. There is wisdom in extremes. Endurance, adaptation, creativity of form. Each extreme world teaches patience, resilience, and the quiet power of conditions that push existence to its limits. And as your mind slowly moves from the blazing star to the frozen shadow, from chaos to stillness, you feel a connection threading through them all. Extreme worlds are not just curiosities. They are teachers, whispering about the limits of survival, the courage of persistence, and the unexpected beauty of conditions far from home. You understand that the universe is both gentle and relentless, and that every world has its own rhythm, its own story, waiting for attention. Your thoughts linger on the extremes, and you begin to sense the transition. Beyond heat and cold, beyond storm and ice, there are subtle veils that wrap around planets, soft atmospheres that temper their harshness. You feel a gentle curiosity awakening for the next layer of understanding. How air, mist, and invisible gases create worlds that breathe, shield, and move. And so, as you leave the extremes behind, your mind floats toward the veiled skies of other worlds, ready to explore the delicate blankets that make them feel alive. You drift through the cosmos, weightless, carried along invisible currents of gravity. Somewhere nearby, a star casts its warmth like a soft glow, not too harsh, not too timid. Between the intense heat of its inner orbit and the frozen outer reaches lies a narrow, exquisite ribbon, the habitable zone. Here, the balance is delicate. It is a place where water, that simple yet miraculous liquid, can exist in its gentle, flowing form, not vaporized into scorching gas, not trapped in eternal ice, but free, supple, and alive with possibility. Each world in this zone has its own quiet personality. Some spin lazily, casting half their surface in perpetual light, the other half in gentle shadow. Others rotate more swiftly, turning day into night in familiar cycles, whispering of continuity and rhythm. You sense how rotation and orbit collaborate with the warmth of the star, crafting climates that could cradle life. Even a slight tilt, a subtle wobble, can create seasons, a gentle modulation of light and temperature that shapes oceans, clouds, and winds. Water is everywhere you look, though not always visible. Some planets were oceans like liquid mirrors, vast and reflective, catching starlight in endless glimmers. On other worlds, ice hides beneath crusts, insulating the liquid below. Currents move slowly, carrying heat, distributing minerals, and nurturing chemistry that might, in quiet patience, become life. You imagine this liquid flowing in rivers and lakes, carving valleys with a whisper, shaping the surface over eons. Every drop participates in a symphony of possibility, each molecule a note in a subtle, cosmic song. You notice the fragile balance of atmosphere. A planet too small loses its air, and water evaporates into space. Too massive, and pressures crush oceans, turning liquid into dense, silent heaviness. Even the composition of gases matters. A thin veil of carbon dioxide and nitrogen can trap warmth, prevent ice from spreading too far, and permit oceans to breathe. Clouds form in delicate swirls, rain falls gently, and the planet's skin shimmers with the quiet energy of moving water and warming sun. This balance, fragile and precise, humbles you with its elegance. The habitable zone is not uniform. Stars vary. Some burn with steady, predictable light. Others flare with sudden intensity. Each orbit, each inclination, changes the delicate equilibrium of potential life. You imagine worlds at the edge, barely warm enough, where water clings to existence like a whispered secret. You see others nearer the center, where oceans shimmer with heat, yet currents and clouds maintain a delicate temper. The universe seems to hold its breath in these places, offering possibility without promise. Life, if it arises here, would take subtle forms. Perhaps it begins in shallow oceans, simple chemistry folding into more complex structures. Perhaps it thrives near volcanic vents, warmed by inner heat rather than sunlight. You picture organisms drifting in soft currents, tiny and unassuming, yet persistent. In each microcosm, the laws of chemistry and physics play out patiently, shaping possibilities with quiet precision. You feel their potential as a gentle, persistent whisper of creation. The silence in space is profound. No sound travels here, and yet there is motion everywhere. Light bending through atmospheres, the push and pull of gravity, molecules shifting in oceans. Each effect is a subtle conversation between matter, energy, and chance. You can almost hear it, a faint hum of balance that sustains water and life alike. Even in apparent emptiness, the universe communicates, and in the habitable zone, it speaks in tones of possibility. You glide closer to one of these planets. Its ocean surface stretches endlessly, reflecting clouds and starlight in soft silver. Waves move like gentle breaths, carrying dissolved minerals and thermal energy. Below, currents swirl unseen, blending heat and nutrients in ways that could feed nascent life. Ice at the poles forms slowly, melts patiently, maintaining equilibrium. You notice the elegance of this balance. Gravity, light, chemistry, and motion converging to allow water to persist. Liquid, flexible, and alive with potential. Time on these worlds flows differently. You imagine centuries slipping by as oceans shift, tides rise and fall, climates ebb and flow. Every subtle change, a storm, a slight orbital shift, a cloud's path, participates in a patient negotiation that maintains habitability. Life, if it emerges, adapts quietly, shaped by cycles and chemistry. You feel the intimacy of this process, the quiet artistry of natural law working over eons to sustain possibility. Even seemingly minor details matter. A planet's distance from its sun, its axial tilt, the eccentricity of its orbit, the density of its atmosphere, the mineral composition of its crust. All these factors interact, each contributing to a fragile equilibrium. You sense the improbability of it all, how rare it is for a planet to occupy this narrow zone of balance. Yet, here they are, suspended, delicate, alive with the potential of water, a reminder of the subtle generosity of the cosmos. You consider water itself, simple H2O, ubiquitous on Earth, yet extraordinary in these distant worlds. It moderates temperature, dissolves nutrients, circulates energy, and enables chemistry to unfold. In its liquid state, it is a cradle for complexity, a stage for possibilities that might someday bloom into life. You see it in rivers carving slow paths, in oceans reflecting faint starlight, in droplets clinging to rocks. Everywhere it is patient, persistent, and endlessly adaptive. Your mind drifts to comparisons with Earth. Oceans here, rivers there. The same principles, the same tender balance, yet unique expressions shaped by differing stars and atmospheres. Life, if it arises in these distant waters, might mirror your own planet's history, or it might diverge into forms beyond imagination. The habitable zone teaches you to hold possibility gently, without expectation, honoring both familiarity and strangeness. As you float along the belt, the planets shimmer in quiet motion. You sense the slow dance of orbits, the tug of gravity, the subtle sway of atmospheres and oceans. Everything is alive with potential, a delicate interplay of warmth, light, and motion. You carry the feeling of this place with you. The improbable balance, the quiet possibility, the tender promise of liquid water. It is both fragile and enduring, fleeting in cosmic terms yet persistent in patience. You allow your thoughts to linger on the complexity and beauty of these zones. Their silence teaches patience. Their balance teaches humility. You see worlds forming, oceans stabilizing, atmospheres regulating, and you understand that habitability is never guaranteed, only offered as a delicate gift. It is a reminder that life, wherever it arises, is a miracle of circumstance, chemistry, and quiet persistence. You float softly among the stars, feeling the quiet stretch of space around you. Each point of light carries a story, a history that began long before your thoughts formed, and will continue long after they fade. You notice how some stars seem to hum, almost imperceptibly, as if the universe itself is breathing. The light reaching your eyes has traveled across unimaginable distances, carrying whispers from worlds that may be unlike anything you can imagine. And yet, there is an intimacy in that distance, a feeling that, even across light years, you are not separate from these distant planets, these distant suns. Your mind turns to the exoplanets you have glimpsed along your journey. Each one is a story etched in gravity and light, a place shaped by forces invisible yet precise. Some spin lazily around small, cool stars. Others race around blazing giants, wrapped in clouds of hydrogen and helium. You feel a delicate thrill at the thought of their surfaces, of what winds might sweep across their plains, what colors their skies might hold. Even without seeing them directly, their existence touches you, inviting quiet curiosity and soft wonder. You imagine a planet where oceans ripple under a violet sky, tides drawn by a massive moon that glows like a lantern. Another world, far colder, where ice crystals drift endlessly in slow, mesmerizing arcs, reflecting the faint light of a distant sun. You do not need to be there physically. Your mind, attuned to observation and imagination, becomes a bridge. You feel a closeness to these faraway places that defies the distances that separate you. It is a closeness born of attention, of patience, of the willingness to see and understand. Every discovery you have made along the way feels like a mirror. You see yourself reflected in the act of noticing. The quiet excitement when a planet appears as a tiny dip in a star's light, the careful calculations that reveal its mass or orbit, the gentle persistence that uncovers its secrets. You realize that curiosity itself is a kind of gravity, pulling your awareness outward, shaping your perception of the cosmos. Each exoplanet reflects not just the universe's story, but your own desire to explore, to understand, to be present in the vastness. In the quiet between observations, you let your mind drift further. You think of the countless stars whose light never reaches you, whose planets remain hidden. Yet you hold them tenderly in your imagination, knowing that existence is not measured by observation alone. Even unseen, these worlds spin, orbit, and breathe in their own rhythm. You feel a sense of humility and a deep gratitude for the chance to glimpse even a fragment of the universe's infinite canvas. As you drift, you notice patterns emerging. Planetary systems are not random. They move with subtle choreography, a harmony of motion guided by gravity's unseen hand. Resonances between orbits create quiet symmetries, invisible but beautiful. You imagine watching a system evolve over millions of years, each planet tracing an arc that is at once predictable and endlessly surprising. There is a poetry in this rhythm, and it soothes you, as if the universe itself is humming a lullaby. Your thoughts linger on the stars that host planets in their habitable zones, the narrow belts where temperatures might allow water to remain liquid, where conditions could cradle life. You do not rush to imagine life itself, for it is enough to feel the possibility, the tender balance that allows a world to sustain complexity. The concept stretches your mind gently, inviting wonder rather than certainty. And as you consider these worlds, you sense a connection not only to the planets but to all the processes that brought them into being, the formation of stars, the swirl of gas and dust, the subtle nudges of gravity over eons. You feel your own place within this cosmic narrative. Not as a master, not as an observer who holds dominion, but as a participant in awareness, a mind capable of understanding and feeling. Your attention becomes an act of reverence, a quiet acknowledgement of the vast, intricate beauty that exists independent of you. And yet, in noticing, you become entwined with it, a thread in a tapestry woven across light years. Light bends, wobbles, and flickers as it travels to you, revealing small secrets along the way. You notice subtle dips and brightening in distant stars, the clues that hint at unseen companions. It is like listening for whispers in a silent room, attuning yourself to rhythms and signs that require patience and care. You feel your senses stretching, becoming more sensitive to patterns that are invisible to the hurried or inattentive mind. Each subtle signal is a reminder that the universe is generous to those willing to observe gently, attentively, and without rush. You let yourself linger in these thoughts, allowing each discovery to resonate softly in your mind. You feel the weight of years and light years collapse into quiet presence, the temporal and spatial distances shrinking as your awareness expands. In this moment, there is no hurry, no urgency, only the gentle pleasure of curiosity and the calm of attentive observation. You sense a continuity that transcends individual lifetimes and individual planets, a rhythm that pulses through every system, every star, every orbit. And as you drift even further into reflection, you realize that the universe has become a mirror not only of discovery but of patience, wonder, and love. You are seeing and being seen, noticing and being noticed, in the quietest and most profound way possible. There is an intimacy here, subtle and tender, between mind and cosmos, observer and observed. You feel the soft glow of connection radiating from the knowledge that even across unimaginable distances, there is a resonance, a shared story, a gentle acknowledgement of presence. Sleep approaches gently, like a tide rolling across the surface of a vast, dark ocean. Your mind slows, the edges of thought softening, the rhythms of curiosity and reflection blending into calm. You carry with you the soft luminescence of distant worlds, their stories folded into your awareness like tiny lanterns lighting the night. And though your eyes may close and your breathing may deepen, the sense of wonder persists, lingering like starlight long after it has passed through the vastness of space. The universe remains vast, mysterious, and quiet, yet you feel profoundly close to it. Each exoplanet, each distant star, each invisible pattern of motion is a reflection of something within you. Your curiosity, your attention, your quiet willingness to be present in the vast unknown. You drift, gentle and attentive, cradled by the stories of worlds that exist far beyond your reach yet remain intimate through the bridge of your imagination. And as you surrender to the soft embrace of sleep, your thoughts whisper the final, tender acknowledgement that even across light years, even across immeasurable distance and time, connection endures, and the universe waits patiently for your next gentle exploration.